Have you ever wondered why, even when you try your hardest, success still seems far away, as if there were an invisible wall between you and everything you dream of achieving? There is a kind of silent pain in this, a kind of anguish that doesn't scream but weighs heavily, a feeling of doing everything right, and yet feeling like the universe is silent. This emptiness is not weakness. This emptiness is a sign, a calling. And that's why this video begins like this, not promising you miracles, but offering you a mirror, a vibrational mirror that can, if you're willing to really look, show you why success is not something you achieve, but something you allow. Napoleon Hill talked about burning desire, but what few realize is that he wasn't just talking about a fixed thought or a strong will. He was talking about a frequency, a vibration so coherent, so stable that it creates an invisible bridge between what you desire and what begins to manifest around you. This desire doesn't scream, it vibrates, and what vibrates attracts. Andrew Carnegie understood this when he said that success does not come through strength or intelligence, but through something more subtle, something that escapes the eye, but never the frequency, the resonance with a defined and sustained intention. An energy that does not fluctuate with fear or haste, but that pulses like an inner music, constant, silent, and absolutely certain of its destiny. The problem is that many confuse desire with anxiety. They confuse focus with effort. And in this vibrational misunderstanding, they end up sending out signals of scarcity, urgency, and desperation to the universe. They ask for success, but vibrate fear. They seek recognition, but vibrate doubt. And the universe, which responds not to what you say, but to what you emit, simply reflects this incoherence. Therefore, the first truth that needs to be felt, not just understood, is that success is not a race. It is not out there, waiting for you to prove your worth. Success is a reflection of the harmony between your mind, your emotional field, and the invisible identity that you carry in silence. There are invisible flaws that are not in what you do, but in what you vibrate without realizing it. They are old memories, inherited beliefs, unresolved emotional patterns. All of this forms a kind of energetic filter between you and what you want. And this filter, if not seen, remains active. That is why so many people walk in circles. That is why, even when they try hard, they continue to be far from the reality they desire. Because inside them, something still says, "You can't. It's not for you. It won't happen." This disconnection between conscious desire and unconscious vibration is the true saboteur. And no one has taught us how to reverse this. No one has taught us how to align. In this video, we are not going to chase success. We are going to stop, breathe, feel, and understand. We are going to enter the silence that reveals, in the inner space where truth vibrates, because success is not strength. It is not shouting. It is not performance. Success is frequency. It is permission. It is the consequence of a mind that has stopped fighting itself and started emitting exactly what it wants to receive. You do not need to prove yourself. You need to allow yourself. And this video is the beginning of this reunion with your original vibration, the one that doesn't doubt, the one that already knows, the one that doesn't chase after it, because it has already become what it attracts. Now, let's begin. The invisible error of seeking success as an emotional escape. What you want doesn't always come from where you think it does. There are people who say they want success, prosperity, recognition, but deep down, what they are trying to do is escape from something. Escape the pain of feeling invisible. Escape the humiliation of having been underestimated for years. Escape the emotional deprivation that has never been healed. And when success is sought as an escape route, it doesn't come. Because the universe doesn't respond to what you chase after, but to what you are vibrating while you chase. The mind may say, "I want to win," but the vibrational field says, "I need to win to stop suffering." And this need carries a frequency of scarcity, not abundance. It is a desperate request, not a silent certainty. It is an attempt to plug a hole, not to express a fullness. And success, being a vibrational mirror, does not respond to holes. It responds to completeness. It does not respond to despair. It responds to harmony. The hardest part is to acknowledge this without guilt, because many have been taught to believe that wanting to win is always a positive thing. But it's not about judging the desire. It's about examining the emotional origins of it. What is the real motivation behind your goal? Is it a celebration of your light, or is it an attempt to erase your pain? Because if it's the latter, your body is already in tension. Your heart is already in survival mode, and no manifestation happens in the survival state. This is where true transformation begins. When you stop running to escape the pain and start walking to align yourself with the truth that you are already whole, the truth that nothing external will heal you if you continue to vibrate the wound as the basis of your intention. The success that comes from healing is different. It doesn't come to fill. It comes to expand. It doesn't come to give you value. It comes to reflect the value that you have finally recognized in yourself. As long as success is seen as a remedy for pain, it will remain distant, because the universe doesn't send bandages. It responds to frequencies. And the frequency of healing begins when you stop trying to prove that you are worthy and simply start to feel that you already are. From this point on, everything changes, not by magic, but by vibrational coherence, because you stopped seeking to escape and started to become what you naturally attract. What you vibrate is stronger than what you say you want. There is a subtle but decisive distance between what you say and what you emanate. And this distance may be exactly what keeps your dreams paralyzed. Because while your mouth says, "I want to grow," your vibrational field may be saying, "I don't feel ready yet." While you declare, "I desire abundance," your energy may be saturated with fear, doubt, and old feelings of inadequacy. And the universe, which does not read words, but reads frequency, responds to what you are in silence. You can repeat affirmations every day, create vision boards, and visualize great achievements. But if the predominant feeling within you is still scarcity, insecurity, or self-sabotage, that is what will be amplified. Because the universe amplifies your field, not your verbal intention. And that is why many people, even when doing rituals, even when following manifestation techniques, remain stuck in the same place. Because deep down, there is an energetic contradiction between what they desire and what they truly believe about themselves. This dissonance is the real blockage. It is not the world. It is not time. It is the internal noise that distorts your frequency. And until it is perceived, the pattern repeats itself. On the outside, an image of confidence. On the inside, a vibration of fear. On the outside, words of power. On the inside, emotions of limitation. This silent disconnection turns off the natural magnetism that everyone has when they are in coherence. But it is not about correcting feelings. Feelings are not mistakes. They are compasses. They show where there are still parts of you asking for acceptance. They reveal which layers of your identity still do not feel authorized to thrive. And this revelation is precious. Because when you stop hiding your true vibration behind pretty words, something real can begin. Healing can begin. Alignment can happen. From the moment that what you feel aligns with what you say and what you believe harmonizes with what you desire, the field begins to respond differently. Not because you forced it, but because there is finally coherence. And coherence is the language of manifestation. It is not what you shout, it is what you vibrate silently. This is what creates reality. This is what builds destiny. And this is what, when aligned, transforms desire into natural attraction. Desire versus obsession. The fine line between magnetism and scarcity. There is an almost imperceptible difference between clearly desiring something and obsessively clinging to the idea that you will only be happy when it happens. A vibrational chasm opens up between these two states, and most people don't realize when they cross this line, because at first, everything seems the same. Will, motivation, intention, but healthy desire is light, while obsession weighs. Real desire trusts. Obsession distrusts. Desire attracts. Obsession repels. When you are vibrating desire as an extension of your inner state of abundance, there is space. Space for the time of the universe. Space for the fluidity of paths. Space for it to arrive organically. But when desire turns into anxiety, it closes. It becomes a knot. An emotional knot that traps your energy in the fear of not achieving, in the fear of losing, in the fear that time is passing and nothing is happening. And it is precisely this knot that blocks the flow. Obsession is born from a lack of confidence. It is the symptom of a mind that does not believe it can relax, that thinks that if it does not control every detail, the universe will forget to fulfill its part. But the universe does not respond to vigilance. It responds to surrender. Surrender is not giving up. It is vibrational maturity. It is when you understand that you have already emitted the necessary frequency, and that now your part is to keep the field stable, without oscillations based on doubt, without sabotage disguised as focus. Scarcity, when disguised as motivation, is deceiving. It makes it seem like you are determined, when in fact you are tense. It makes it seem like you are committed, when in fact you are in a state of emotional urgency. And urgency is not strength. It is noise. And noise, within the quantum field, interferes with the precision of what you attract. When desire is pure, it does not demand immediate proof. It breathes. It allows. It does not need external guarantees, because its root is in a silent certainty. That which is mine by frequency will inevitably come. Therefore, observing whether your desire is still light is an act of spiritual awareness. Not to eliminate desire, but to purify it. Not to give up on your dreams, but to ensure that they are not being built on the basis of lack. The line is thin, but the impact is immense. When desire remains desire and does not become a prison, it transforms into a magnetic field of authentic attraction. It vibrates serenity. It communicates to the universe. I am already what I am attracting. And this, more than any other technique, is what opens the doors for the invisible to become reality. How your nervous system decides whether you are authorized to succeed. The mind can dream big, visualize goals, plan details, but it is the body that gives the final signal. And the body only allows what it considers safe. This is one of the quietest and most transformative revelations of the spiritual and vibrational path. You can desire success with all your conscious intention, but if your nervous system still associates prosperity with threat, rejection, overload, or pain, it will do everything it can to keep you away from it, because the body doesn't lie, and it remembers. It stores memories, traumas, emotional associations. Maybe at some point in your life, success meant abandonment. It meant more responsibility than you could handle. It meant being the target of criticism, envy, and pressure. And your system, trying to protect you, created a silent code. It's better not to grow too much. And even if you consciously want to take a leap in your life, something inside you still vibrates with retraction. It still vibrates with self-protection. Neuroscience shows that self-image is directly connected to the electromagnetic field you emit. What you believe yourself to be determines what your body allows you to experience. And if your self-image still carries guilt, fears, and unhealed stories, it sends a signal, I'm not ready. And this signal is read by your vibrational field as a frequency of resistance. The universe does not go against this frequency. It respects it. He waits. What seems like an external blockage is often just a reflection of a lack of internal authorization. And this authorization is not a mental decision. It is felt in the body. It is perceived in the rhythm of your breathing when you imagine your success. It is felt in the lightness or tension that arises when you see yourself prosperous. It is measured by the level of peace you feel when you think of being recognized, seen, valued. If there is discomfort, there is a body that is still in a state of defense. But the beautiful thing about all this is that the body can be reprogrammed. Through presence, conscious breathing, and kindness with the emotions that emerge, it is possible to teach the system that success is safe, that expansion does not hurt, that being seen does not mean being attacked, That shining does not have to hurt. And when the body believes this, it allows it. It opens. It relaxes. And in this relaxation, the vibration stabilizes. Success only comes when your field allows it. And the field only allows it when the system is at peace. It is not a question of intellectual merit. It is a question of emotional security. When your body begins to feel safe to be big, everything changes. Not because something external has been forced, but because something internal has been released. And in that release, you become available to what once seemed distant, available to what has always been yours. Because positive thinking alone keeps you from prosperity. There is a widespread belief that all you need to do is think positively and everything will work out. That all you need to do is affirm your thoughts strongly, repeat optimistic phrases, and avoid any negative thoughts. But this belief, although it may seem harmless, has a profound side effect. It disconnects you from your emotional truth. Because thinking positively without feeling, without integrating, without healing what is behind it, is not a high vibration. It is disguised repression. When you force a positive thought without making room for what is truly present within you, you create an energetic gap. The body feels it, the field perceives it, and the universe responds to this disharmony, not to the content of your thought, but to the contrast between what you think and what you vibrate. This is why so many people repeat affirmations and see no results, because deep down, they still carry fear, doubt, and devaluation. And this, however silent it may be, has greater vibrational weight than words spoken with the lips. Prosperity does not respond to forced optimism. It responds to coherence. Coherence between what you think, what you feel, and what you experience. If positive thinking is a natural expression of a state of inner confidence, it is powerful. But if it is a mechanism to avoid pain, it becomes noise. And noise in this subtle field of creation confuses the waves. Instead of emitting clarity, you emit contradiction. Instead of attracting, you repel. A new understanding is needed. A positive thought that does not deny pain, but includes it in the process of transformation. A thought that is born of acceptance, not denial. That recognizes that there are days of doubt, moments of falling, but that still chooses to believe. Because this choice comes from a real place. Not from a mental script, but from a heart that, even wounded, is rebuilding itself. Spirituality does not demand vibrational perfection. It demands authenticity. The energy of prosperity moves toward those who are in truth. And truth is not always smiling. Truth is having the courage to feel, to dive in, to transform pain without having to hide it behind mantras. When you honor your emotion, you clear the field. And when you clear the field, your thoughts become tools, not obligations. Thinking positively is not the goal. It is a natural consequence of an aligned body, a peaceful mind, and a heart that has learned to trust even in the face of uncertainty. When this foundation is built, your thoughts become congruent, and prosperity begins to respond. Because finally, what you think is a reflection of your vibration, not an attempt to cover it up. At that point, the universe listens and delivers. The broken magnet metaphor. Why you repel exactly what you want most. Imagine a magnet trying to attract metal, but with one of its polarities damaged. It tries, it strains, but instead of pulling it closer, it pushes it away. And the more force it applies, the more evident the blockage becomes. This is how human vibration works when it is fragmented. When the conscious desire wants something, but the unconscious energy field is programmed to reject it, the attraction reverses. And what should come moves away. The rational mind does not perceive this mechanism clearly, because it is convinced that it is doing everything right. It affirms, visualizes, studies, persists. But there are deeper layers hidden in the emotional body that maintain old codes. Codes of rejection, inadequacy, unworthiness. Codes that were born in moments of pain, in childhood, in relationships of abandonment, in experiences of humiliation. And these codes, like cracks in the magnetic field, alter the direction of energy. Trauma does not scream. It whispers. It does not directly impede, it subtly diverts. It diverts your thoughts, your choices, your attitude towards life. It creates a kind of inverted radar that identifies as dangerous everything that represents expansion. And as contradictory as it may seem, success can seem dangerous to those who carry an unbalanced vibrational field. Because along with success can come demands, visibility, emotional responsibility. And if the body associates these things with suffering, it closes down. This closing down is not failure. It is protection. It's a body saying, I still can't sustain this frequency. And that's no reason to be ashamed. It's a reason to embrace it. Because only when you recognize the broken magnet can you begin to restore its polarity. And restoring doesn't mean forcing it. It means healing. It means rewriting the memories that still vibrate with fear. It means bringing light to the parts of you that still feel small in the face of life. When the field begins to rebalance, something changes. Not in the effort, but in the natural direction of your energy. What once seemed difficult begins to flow. What once eluded you begins to draw near. And this does not happen because you have suddenly become more deserving. It happens because there is now coherence. Because there is now a vibration without cracks, a polarity that is whole, a field that finally attracts, not by force, but by alignment. The magnet never had to make an effort. It just had to be whole. And so do you. Inner silence. The lost code of spiritual magnetism. There is a type of magnetism that cannot be built with words or visible actions. A magnetism that does not need a stage or external validation. This magnetism is born in silence, but not just any silence. It is an internal, clean silence, one that is not clogged with mental noise, to-do lists, or unresolved anxieties. A silence that is not the absence of sound. It is pure presence. Presence that pulsates. Presence that attracts. Most people live surrounded by noise, the noise of demands, of repetitive thoughts, of worries about the future. And within this noise, the vibrational field gets lost. Because the field does not respond to the quantity of effort. It responds to the quality of the frequency. And frequency only stabilizes in silence. In the state of non-resistance, in the inner space where there is no struggle, only alignment. Spiritual magnetism is not about doing more. It is about being more aware of what you are vibrating when you are not trying to control everything. Although Napoleon Hill spoke of burning desire, he also pointed out the importance of a defined purpose and an organized mind. And a mind only becomes organized when it stops chasing after all the stimuli, when it silences the excess, when it allows the essential to emerge. In silence, you begin to hear what was previously muffled, your true intention, your authentic energy, your connection with something greater that does not need proof, only attunement. This silence is the lost code because it seems useless in a world that demands haste, performance, productivity. But it is the secret for those who want to attract with truth, because it is in silence that the body relaxes. It is in silence that the soul speaks. It is in silence that the field realigns. There is no way to access the frequency of abundance while in a mental state of overload. The universe does not enter environments where noise does not allow it to hear. Inner silence is more than a meditative state. It is a vibrational base. It is a space where the energy of certainty settles, where desire stops being a scream and becomes a calm pulse. It is in this state that success begins to find you, because you are no longer searching, nor trying, nor projecting. You are allowing. You are open. You are tuned to the frequency of those who already know that they do not need to prove, only vibrate. In silence, you do not disconnect from life. You reconnect with your center. And from this center, everything that is true begins to be attracted, not through effort, but through pure attunement. Because in silence, the universe hears more clearly what you have always wanted to say, without needing a single word. Why most people don't understand Hill's true, burning desire. Many people repeat the expression coined by Napoleon Hill as if it were a magic formula, burning desire. But few understand the vibrational depth contained in these words. It is not a desperate desire, nor a mental obsession that feeds on anxiety. True burning desire does not burn with agitation. It heats with constancy. It does not demand immediate proof. It maintains a stable, firm, silent frequency. And that is why it attracts. The burning desire that Hill speaks of is not the one that makes you lose sleep. It is the one that brings peace, even before the achievement. Because it is not born of lack. It is born of clarity. It is the type of desire that already feels fulfilled before it even materializes. Not because reality has changed, but because the vibration has already changed. Because the body already recognizes the truth of what is being called. Because the field is already emitting as if it were already part of who you are. The problem is that most people seek burning desire in a hurry. And in this rush, they transform intention into urgency, faith into anxiety, focus into rigidity. But true desire is not built in the field of tension. It grows like a silent root. It does not ask for immediate results because it already knows that everything comes in proportion to vibrational maturation. It understands that time is not the enemy. It is an instrument. And that what seems like a delay is, in fact, preparation. Burning desire is not attachment. It is surrender with presence. It is the energy of someone who has already decided internally that this is part of their path. And therefore, they no longer need to run after it. They just walk firmly, with serenity, with a magnetism that does not feed on drama, but on certainty. And this certainty, even if silent, is felt. In the look, in the breathing, in the posture. It communicates to the universe. I am ready. And the universe, like a vibrational mirror, responds. True burning desire does not beg. It vibrates. It does not demand. It allows. It is not based on doubt. It rests on faith. And this faith is not blind. It is vibrational. It is built by the coherence between what you feel, what you think, and what you manifest in the small actions of everyday life. When these three forces align, desire ceases to be a distant hope and becomes a magnetic field. And in this field, everything begins to happen, not by magic, but by frequency, because you are no longer waiting for it to happen. You have already become what you attract. Mental model, the triad of magnetism, thought, vibration, alignment. There is an invisible structure behind every authentic manifestation, an energetic gear that, when understood and experienced, transforms the way you move in the world. This structure is composed of three fundamental forces: thought, vibration, and alignment. Not isolated, but intertwined. Not theoretical, but deeply experienced. When these three gears turn in harmony, the magnetic field is activated. And what seemed distant begins to happen fluidly. Thought is the starting point. It is the seed of creation. It is with it that you declare your intention to the universe. But alone, it is just an idea, a spark, a possibility not yet rooted. For thought to become something real, it needs to immerse itself in vibration. And vibration is what you feel when you think. It is what your body emits while your mind imagines. It is the silent emotion that validates, or invalidates, your intention. If thought says yes, but vibration says no, the field is in contradiction. That is where alignment comes in. Alignment is the state in which thought and vibration are in tune with your actions, with your attitude towards life, with the choices you make every day. Alignment is the body walking in the same direction as the mind and heart. This is when there is no more internal friction. There is no more doubt disguised as preparation. There is no more subtle sabotage hidden under the name of prudence. Everything moves together. And when everything moves together, magnetism is inevitable. The quantum field responds to the coherence of this triad. It recognizes when you are no longer just desiring but embodying the desire. When your thought is not just imagining, but emitting conviction. When your vibration is not just waiting, but already giving thanks. When your actions are not just testing, but assuming the reality you want to live. This is the point at which manifestation ceases to be effort and becomes an extension of your being. Thought without vibration is empty. Vibration without alignment is unstable. Alignment without direction is dispersion. But when the three meet, a silent, constant, undeniable power emerges. A power that is not based on external strategies, but on internal integrity. And it is this integrity that the universe recognizes as a sign of readiness. Not because you shouted louder, but because you finally silenced the internal noise. And in that silence, your frequency spoke for you. How dopamine gets in the way of your manifestation without you realizing it. Dopamine is a natural substance in the brain associated with pleasure, motivation, and anticipation of reward. But when it comes to conscious manifestation, it can become a subtle trap. That's because dopamine is linked to the cycle of immediate expectation. It activates the reward system when you get closer to something you want, but it also feeds impatience, the desire to feel now, have now, see results now. And it is in this compulsive now that the vibration becomes destabilized. When you imagine your success and immediately need to feel a spike of enthusiasm, that enthusiasm is not sustenance. It is chemical euphoria. It is cerebral excitement, but it is not vibrational coherence. And what happens after this peak? A drop, frustration, anxiety, because dopamine creates a stimulus-reward cycle that the energy field cannot keep up with in frequency. The field responds to stability, not to oscillation. It responds to the internal state, not to addiction to stimulus. We live in a culture saturated with dopamine, likes, notifications, quick wins, instant promises. All of these train the brain to want the next reward signal. But real manifestation is a deep process. It's a dance between intention and vibrational maturation. It's not about feeling ecstatic at every step. It's about sustaining presence, even in the moments when nothing seems to happen, because it's in that gap between desire and outcome that frequency is cemented. When your mind gets used to dopamine as a metric of progress, you start to think that if you're not excited, you're doing it wrong, that if you're not seeing signals all the time, you're failing. But this is a chemical illusion. It's an emotional addiction. And it takes you off the path to true manifestation, because manifestation is not about being on an emotional high. It's about being in a constant state of play. It's about vibrating, not out of excitement, but out of conviction. When you let go of the need to feel highs of excitement all the time, you start to access something deeper, a quiet contentment, a confidence that does not depend on immediate proof, a state where the vibration is stable, mature, reliable. And it is this state that the universe recognizes, not as an impulsive request, but as an aligned frequency, a constant emission that says, without words, I am ready. And at that point, everything starts to move, not because of dopamine, but because of real resonance. A daily 3-minute ritual to stabilize your frequency of attraction. It is not the size of the gesture that transforms your energy, but the quality of your presence. A simple ritual, done with full awareness, can have more impact on your vibrational field than hours of effort without alignment. The secret is consistency, silent intention, and the ability to enter a state where your mind, body, and vibration merge in coherence. Imagine yourself in front of a moment just for you. 3 minutes, nothing more. 3 minutes where the world does not need you, where demands do not touch your skin, where time slows down. In this space, sit or lie down in silence. Close your eyes, but not to disconnect, to find yourself. Bring your attention to your heart. Don't try to control your thoughts. Just feel your body breathing. Inhale slowly and deeply, as if each breath were a gesture of reconnection. Exhale gently, as if you were releasing everything that no longer belongs to your frequency. During this time, abandon the idea of asking. Just feel what it would be like to vibrate the peace of someone who has already received. What it would be like to be fully present as if you already were. Don't think about what's missing. Think about how light the state of someone who has already allowed themselves to be is. Feel this. Not with words, but with vibration. 3 minutes. That's all. And in this reduced space, something profound begins to happen. The body begins to understand that now is enough. The field begins to stabilize. The mind stops screaming and the heart becomes a compass again. This ritual is not meant to force anything. It is meant to remember. Remember who you are without noise. Who you are when you are not trying to conquer, please, or justify yourself. This moment is a seed, a vibrational seed that, when watered with presence, begins to change the soil of your reality. And the more this gesture is repeated, the more your field recognizes. This is the new base. This is the new tone. This is the new frequency from which everything will be attracted. Because the universe does not respond to the time you spend wishing. It responds to the clarity with which you vibrate. And 3 minutes of coherence can be more powerful than days of energetic confusion. Not because they are magical, but because they are real, because they are yours, because they are whole. And it is this wholeness that transforms everything, silently, deeply, inevitably. Why success hides from those who need to prove their worth. There is an invisible layer of tension that accompanies those who are always trying to prove something. It is a silent anxiety that says, I need to show that I am capable. I need to conquer so that they respect me. I need to win so that they love me. And when this energy is present, success becomes a goal, loaded with emotional demands. It stops being a natural reflection of your frequency and becomes an obsession with validation. The vibration of someone who seeks to prove something carries the weight of non-acceptance. It carries the urgency to fill a void that cannot be resolved with achievements. And this weight infiltrates the field. It transforms every action into a demand, every desire into a need, every step into tension. And the field, instead of emitting confidence, emits need. Instead of emitting plenitude, it emits an urgency disguised as determination. And the universe responds to this not with rejection, but with pause, because the frequency of scarcity does not match the abundance you seek. When success is sought as an attempt to validate who you are, your unconscious is saying, I'm not enough yet. And this vibration contaminates your intention. It's like trying to hold water with your hands closed. The more force you apply, the more it escapes, because success doesn't come to prove anything. It comes as an extension of what you have already recognized in yourself. When there is no longer a need for approval, there is space for flow. When there is no longer an urgency for acceptance, there is vibrational receptivity. True abundance comes when you no longer need to use it as a shield, when it is no longer a compensation, but a consequence, when it is no longer about convincing the world, but about expressing your essence. And this essence does not shout, does not demand, does not force. It simply is. And in this being, it becomes magnetic. It attracts without chasing. It manifests without needing to prove. Freeing yourself from the need to prove is one of the most liberating acts. Because in this act, you return to an internal place where you do not need to conquer in order to exist, where you do not need to win in order to feel worthy, where you don't have to show anything to anyone. Just vibrate your truth. And when that truth is clear, success no longer hides. It comes closer, because finally, you don't use it as a mask. You receive it as a reflection, a clear, serene, and undeniable reflection of your peaceful frequency. True story. The man who only prospered when he let go of control. He was disciplined. He had clear goals, an organized schedule, and focused thinking. For years, he did everything the book said. He planned, visualized, and acted persistently. But for some reason he couldn't understand, the results never matched the effort. It was as if something invisible was always preventing him from moving forward. There was always a setback, an unexpected loss, a last-minute denial. He felt tired, frustrated, on the verge of giving up, not because of laziness, but because of emotional exhaustion. It was at that point of exhaustion that he stopped, not by rational choice, but because of lack of strength. He let go. For the first time, he stopped trying to control every step, every detail, every outcome. He abandoned the idea that he needed to prove his competence. And in that abandonment, something unexpected happened. What he had been searching for began to come closer. Doors began to open. The right connections emerged. Paths that had previously seemed blocked became passages. But it wasn't magic. It was realignment. When he stopped resisting, his field relaxed. When he stopped controlling, his frequency stabilized. When he stopped demanding, he allowed. And the universe, which until then had been reflecting his anxious effort, began to respond to his new vibration of surrender. He didn't stop acting, but his action now came from a different place. It was no longer fueled by urgency, but by clarity. It was no longer driven by scarcity, but by a calm presence. This story is real, and although the name doesn't matter, the essence does. Because it shows what happens when the mind stops fighting and starts trusting, when the will stops forcing and starts flowing, when identity stops being based on achievements and starts to be nourished by vibrational coherence. This man did not win because he became more competent. He won because he became more aligned. True success does not require control. It requires conscious surrender. And that surrender is not giving up. It is wisdom. It is when you recognize that the universe does not need you to push the river. It needs you to tune in to the flow. And when that happens, what was once a blockage becomes a bridge. What was once an effort becomes an attraction, because the energy has changed. And when the energy changes, everything changes with it. Silently, inevitably, profoundly. The vibrational power of undeclared intention. There is a force that acts long before words. An energy that manifests itself not in what you say you want, but in what you silently emit. That is undeclared intention. It lives between the lines of your behavior, in the subtleties of your posture, in the unconscious gestures that reveal more than any speech. You can say, "I want to prosper," but if you are vibrating internally with fear of being seen, fear of losing what you have achieved, fear that it will not be enough, that is what the field picks up. That is what the universe hears. Undeclared intention is like a background frequency, like an emotional soundtrack that plays even when you are silent. It shapes your choices, influences your relationships, and defines your limits. And often, it is precisely this silent frequency that is preventing success from approaching. Because while you feign security, your energy emits distrust. While you display motivation, your field vibrates exhaustion. And the universe, in its vibrational precision, responds to what is real, not to what is rehearsed. Recognizing your undeclared intention is not a mental task. It is an exercise in presence. It is stopping for a few moments and asking yourself, what is really behind my desire? Am I seeking this for expression or for compensation? Do I want to manifest, or do I want to hide an old pain with a new achievement? These questions are not to judge, but to clarify. Because only when you see your hidden frequency can you transform it. Transformation begins when the undeclared intention ceases to be unconscious, when it is brought to light, felt, and welcomed, when, and instead of hiding it, you listen to it. And in that listening, something changes. The vibration is reorganized. The field is purified. The energy stops sabotaging and starts to sustain, because now there is coherence. Now there is truth. Now what you desire and what you vibrate go hand in hand. You don't need to shout to the universe what you want. You just need to vibrate cleanly. It is enough that your silent intention is at peace with what you are calling. When this happens, what previously seemed stagnant begins to flow. Not because something external has changed, but because internally, your emission has stopped saying, "I am afraid," and has started saying, "I am ready." And this readiness, even without words, has a sound that the universe recognizes and responds. Be careful with performative positivity. The universe responds to your frequency, not to your speech. We live in a time when positivity has become almost an obligation. There is an invisible pressure to always appear well, always grateful, always enlightened. But this positivity, when used as a mask, does not raise the vibration. It hides. It suffocates. It creates a distance between what you show and what you really feel. And this distance, when not acknowledged, turns into vibrational noise. Because the universe is not moved by appearances. It responds to essence. Being positive in a performative way is like painting a house on the outside while the inside is in ruins. In the eyes of the world, everything seems right. But the field, which is sensitive, knows. It feels the misalignment. It feels when gratitude is said out of obligation. It feels when optimism is forced. It feels when light is used as a disguise to hide fear. And in this incoherence, the manifestation becomes unstable, because the vibration is divided, and everything that is divided does not attract. It disperses. True positivity is not a performance. It is a profound choice. It is not about ignoring pain, but about going through it with awareness. It is not about denying what hurts, but about not allowing it to define your frequency. Real positivity is born from acceptance, not denial. It's the one that says, yes, I'm feeling all of this, but I choose not to imprison myself in this place. This choice vibrates truth, vibrates courage, vibrates presence, and that's what transforms. The universe responds to coherence. When what you think, feel, and express are in harmony, your energy becomes clear, and clarity vibrates high, not through strength, but through authenticity, not through aesthetic beauty, but through emotional integrity. Performative positivity may fool social media, but it never fools the field, and the field is what defines what you attract. When you let go of the need to appear, you begin to become. When you let go of the fear of showing your humanity, you begin to vibrate presence. And in that presence, there is strength, there is magnetism, there is truth. And it's truth, not rehearsed speech, that creates an irresistible vibration, a vibration that doesn't need to prove itself. It just reveals itself, naturally, deeply, inevitably. Why your quietest thoughts have more power than your words. There is a layer of the mind that does not speak. It does not express itself out loud. It does not appear in the affirmations you repeat, nor in the phrases you publish. It lives behind the scenes of consciousness. It is the thoughts you do not even realize you have, the beliefs that act as an invisible foundation, the phrases you never said, but that your body carries as truth. And it is this silent layer that shapes your vibrational field more strongly than any spoken word. You can say, I trust in life, but if deep down there is still the hidden thought that life is hard, that thought is the one that is sending out a signal. It is this thought that the universe hears, because words are important, yes, but they are only superficial. Vibration is born from inner truth. And inner truth is not what you would like to believe. It is what you really believe when you are alone, when you are silent, when no one is looking. The HeartMath Institute, studying the electromagnetic field of the heart, discovered that it is thousands of times stronger than the brain's field. And this reveals something essential. Vibration does not respond to isolated logical thought. It responds to associated emotion, to what you truly feel, to what you think without realizing it. Therefore, transforming your life is not just a matter of thinking differently. It is a matter of transforming the emotional pattern that sustains your silent thoughts. This transformation begins with listening to what you think when something goes wrong, listening to what you feel when you are about to try something new, listening to what arises in your body when you imagine yourself living your greatest achievement. If there is tension, if there is fear, if there is distrust, these are the true thoughts, not the ones you repeat consciously, but the ones you carry as a base frequency. And these are the ones that are creating your reality. Bringing light into this space does not require judgment. It requires compassion. It requires presence. It requires courage to not run away from what emerges, because only what is seen can be healed. And when these silent thoughts begin to be observed with love, they lose strength. They transform. And in their place, new beliefs emerge, new certainties, new vibrations that do not need to be shouted because they are already felt. The power of manifestation is in this subtle place. It is not what you say out loud. It is what vibrates in silence. It is what your field transmits when you stop acting and finally begin to be, with truth, with coherence, with peace, and with a vibration that, even without words, transforms everything around it. The fatal error of trying to control the when. Time for the human mind is an obsession. We want to know when it will happen, how much is left, what the next step is, and in this desire to control the when, we lose contact with the vibration of the now. Anxiety about the future is one of the most subtle and profound forms of resistance, because while you focus on the when, your frequency is declaring that it is not yet, that it is still missing, that it is not yet ready, and the universe responds to this with more waiting. The attempt to control time is a form of disguised distrust. It carries the vibration of someone who believes that if there is no control, nothing will happen. But the universe does not work by pressure. It works by attunement. And attunement is not born of urgency, but of surrender. While you try to guess when, your mind is in the future. And when your mind is in the future, your field is not present. And if it is not present, it is not vibrating strongly. It is oscillating. It is far from the point of attraction. What you desire does not need a set date. It needs a receptive field. It needs a stable frequency, not a countdown. Because time, on the energetic plane, is only a consequence of alignment. When the field is coherent, time collapses. Things arrive when they find space to exist, not when you decide they should arrive. And this understanding changes everything. It is not about giving up on your dreams. It is about stopping pressuring them to obey your calendar. It is about trusting that there is a greater wisdom orchestrating encounters, preparing paths, adjusting synchronicities. Divine timing is not the time to rush. It is the time of vibrational precision. And only those who trust this rhythm can sustain the necessary frequency until the invisible becomes visible. By letting go of the control of when, you don't lose power, you recover it. Because now, your energy is no longer dispersed in the future. It is entirely in the present. And it is in the present that the field is activated, that the vibration intensifies, that the magnetism becomes inevitable. Not because you forced it, but because finally you allowed it. You stopped resisting time, and you started trusting the rhythm of what is already on its way. Rewriting your energetic identity, who you believe you are, determines what you attract. Reality does not respond only to what you want, but to who you believe you are. Because the identity you hold, even unconsciously, emits a constant vibration, and this vibration creates a field that attracts situations, people, and experiences that are consistent with the image you carry of yourself. You may desire abundance, but if deep down you still see yourself as someone who is not worthy, who has always been forgotten, who has never had luck, it is this frequency that controls what you manifest. Energy identity is built over time, through experiences, pain, praise, rejection, and the stories you've heard and internalized. But it's not immutable. It can be rewritten. It needs to be rewritten when it's no longer aligned with the life your soul wants to live. Because if you still vibrate like someone who needs to fight to be seen, who needs to strive to be accepted, who needs to constantly compensate for what you feel you lack, you will continue to attract realities that reinforce this narrative. Reprogramming your identity begins with recognition, recognizing what you've been vibrating without realizing it. What phrases live in your mind when you fail? What feelings arise when someone praises you? What fears hide behind the goals you set? Each of these answers is a clue about the image you hold of yourself. And if that image is small, limited, based on pain, it needs to be honored, and then gently transformed. Transforming doesn't mean denying the past. It means choosing a new frequency. It means deciding that you are no longer that wounded, rejected, diminished version of yourself. That now you begin to see yourself as someone who deserves it, who is already enough, who doesn't need to prove anything anymore, who doesn't need to repeat old patterns to feel safe, who can, with awareness and truth, assume a new position in the field of life. When identity changes, everything changes. Because now your body vibrates differently, your posture changes, your gaze changes, your presence begins to emit security, integrity, coherence, and the universe responds, not because you asked for it, but because you became it. Because the vibration of your new identity began to shape a new reality, not through effort, but through vibrational coherence. Because finally, you are not just wishing for a better life, you are living as someone who is already part of it. What nature teaches about frequency and manifestation Nature is in no hurry, but everything happens in it. The seed does not force the sprout. The bamboo does not rush to grow. The seasons do not argue among themselves about who should come first. There is a vibrational intelligence present in every cycle, in every rhythm, in every natural silence. And this intelligence reveals one of the deepest principles of manifestation. Everything flourishes when it is in tune with the right time of its vibration. The Chinese bamboo, for example, spends years developing invisible roots underground before growing upwards. During this time, nothing seems to happen. To those looking from the outside, it might think it is failure, stagnation. But there, in the silence of the soil, a structure is being formed. An energetic base is being created. Because what is to come needs support. And the same happens with your life. What has not yet flourished may not be absent. It may simply be taking root. The seed, when planted, does not question whether it will be seen. It does not need validation from the world to continue its process. It feels, it receives. It responds to light, water, heat. And so, little by little, it sprouts. This sprouting is not by force. It is by attunement. And this is one of the great lessons that nature offers. Manifestation is not built with anxiety, but with alignment. It is not revealed by demand, but by vibrational maturation. When you observe nature carefully, you begin to understand that everything has a cycle, a rhythm, its own wisdom, and that the more you try to force the flowering before its time, the more you disturb the energy of your field. The vibration of abundance is like a season. It arrives when you are in tune with it. And to be in tune, you need to trust, breathe, nourish, wait with presence, not with anguish. There is a deep peace in the way nature manifests, a silent certainty that everything comes when it is ready. And this certainty can be yours too, not as an abstract belief, but as a lived frequency. When you stop trying to control the cycles and start respecting them, the energy around you reorganizes itself. And that which seemed distant begins to grow, naturally, without rushing, without noise, with the beauty of everything that is born at the right time. Because what is yours, when aligned, does not need to be forced, only allowed. And everything that is allowed by vibration finds its way, always. The radio metaphor. You cannot hear the station of abundance if you are tuned to the frequency of doubt. Imagine an old radio. You turn the knob, looking for a clear station. But if you are slightly out of tune, all you hear is noise, distortion, overlapping voices. The station exists, the music is being transmitted, but you cannot hear it because you are out of frequency. This is also how manifestation works. Abundance, love, success, all of these are already being broadcast by the universe. But if you are tuned into doubt, scarcity, guilt, or anxiety, you will not hear anything clearly, only the hiss of fear. Doubt is a frequency. It is not just a passing thought. It is a continuous broadcast that alters the tone of your field. When you doubt, even if you continue to visualize, affirm, and act, your vibration becomes unstable. And the universe does not pick up on unstable intentions. It responds to what is constant, to what pulses with clarity, to what vibrates without hesitation. And hesitation is what most prevents you from hearing the station of your fulfillment. Many try to increase the volume of their desires, hoping that this will make the universe hear them faster. But it is not the volume that matters. It is the tuning. You can shout, "I want to prosper," but if you are vibrating fear of loss, insecurity about the future, or resentment about the past, your inner radio is out of alignment. And the more noise you make, the further away you are from the real station, because excessive emotional noise takes away from vibrational precision. Abundance has a subtle frequency. It vibrates in the field of trust, in the silence that welcomes, in the gratitude that does not demand, in the surrender that does not force. And to hear it, you need to tune your internal radio, not in a hurry, but with presence. Feel where there is still noise, where there is still interference, where the tuning is broken by old stories that still play in the emotional background. And then, gently, turn the knob of consciousness. Choose new beliefs. new feelings, a new internal state. When you change the station, you do not change what is being transmitted. You change what you begin to capture, and that makes all the difference. Because now, finally, you begin to listen, you begin to feel, you begin to realize that what you were looking for has always been there, just waiting for you to tune in. And when the tuning is achieved, everything that seemed distant begins to sound clear. The music of your abundance plays, not because you created it, but because finally you aligned yourself to hear it. Napoleon Hill and the power of the organized mind. Success is a consequence of the mind operating in coherence with a defined purpose and a stable vibration. For Hill, power is not born only from desire, but from the organization of the mind around that desire. A fragmented mind, full of distractions, doubts, and impulses, does not create reality. It gets lost in disconnected possibilities. But an organized mind, aligned with a clear purpose and sustained by a stable vibration, becomes a field of natural attraction. This organization is not only rational, it is energetic. It is when what you think, feel, and do walk together towards the same center. The power of the organized mind is the power of coherence. Coherence between intention and action, between thought and sensation, between speech and frequency. And this coherence creates an electromagnetic field so consistent that the universe begins to respond with synchronicity, with unlikely encounters, with opportunities that seem magical, but are only the reflection of a clean field. A field where there is no internal noise, where there is no silent sabotage, where the purpose pulsates with such clarity that it becomes inevitable. Hill was not talking about obsession. He was talking about clarity. About a purpose that becomes a continuous vibration, about a desire that becomes vibrational alignment. And when this internal organization is achieved, success does not need to be pursued. It starts to be attracted, not because you did more, but because you became more coherent, because your frequency began to emit constancy, stability, emotional maturity. An organized mind is one that has already decided, that does not doubt at every step, that does not need external proof to support its choice. And this vibrational decision creates a bridge between the invisible and the visible, because what was once just an intention is now a reality under construction, sustained not by effort but by alignment, sustained not by anxiety but by attunement. You do not need to dominate the world to attract what is yours. You only need to align your mind, your emotions, and your actions around what is already available in the field. When this happens, success ceases to be a search and becomes a response to the silent power of those who have organized themselves internally and allowed life to respond with greatness. A practical lesson from Neville Goddard: you do not attract what you want, but what you are. Your external reality responds to the identity you assume in the invisible. Neville Goddard invites us to a profound understanding. Reality is not shaped only by declared desires, but by the silent identity you sustain in the invisible. You can desire success, abundance, love, but if, deep down in your vibration, you still perceive yourself as someone small, needy, insufficient, it is this perception that is creating your world, because the universe does not respond to what you ask for with your lips. It responds to what you affirm with your presence. The presence you carry is the sum of your beliefs, emotions, and internal images. It is often constructed without awareness. That is why Neville insisted so much on the practice of assuming the feeling of fulfilled desire, not as a fantasy, but as a change of identity, as a vibrational fusion with the version of yourself that already lives what you want to experience. This is not a spiritual theater practice. It is a vibrational reprogramming. It is you choosing to vibrate as who you already are, and not as who you still hope to be. Assuming this identity requires silence. Not the silence of the external world, but the silence of internal justifications, of excuses, of "I can't do it yet," of "I don't know if I deserve it." Because all these voices form a frequency, and this frequency keeps you stuck in the old version. But when you start living as who you already are, everything changes. Your posture changes. your choices change. Your energy communicates something new to the field, and the field responds. Because now, you are not trying to achieve what you want. You are vibrating as someone who is already part of it. You are walking as someone who already lives this reality. You are moving as someone who no longer needs to chase after it, because you have become what you attract. This is Neville's most powerful lesson. Don't wait for the world to change from within, but change from within so that the world reflects this new vibration. You don't need to understand all the invisible rules of manifestation. You just need to understand who you are being, because that is what the universe reads. That is what shapes your experience. Not the loose desire, but the identity you chose to embody. And when this identity becomes coherent with the reality you desire, the invisible transforms. Because finally, you stopped wanting to be and started being. And in this being, everything happens. Success is a consequence of the mind that operates in coherence with a defined purpose and a stable vibration. You don't attract what you want, but what you are. Your external reality responds to the identity you assume in the invisible. Magnetism is the result of vibrational coherence, not of effort, shouting, or emotional desperation. Who are you silently being when no one is looking? It is this invisible you that is building or pushing away your success. Try living as if you were already magnetic, not to fool the universe, but to tune into the frequency of someone who doesn't need to chase after it, because they have already become what they attract. Magnetism is the result of vibrational coherence, not of effort, shouting, or emotional desperation. Many believe that the more intensity they put into their desires, the faster they will come true. That if they shout louder, think harder, move with more agitation, the universe will be quicker to respond. But true magnetism is not born from exaggerated effort. It does not arise from desperation disguised as discipline. It is the fruit of vibrational coherence, the harmony between what you desire and what you vibrate when you are not trying to impress anyone. The energy field does not respond to your strength. It responds to your frequency. And the frequency does not rise with shouting. It adjusts with silence, with integrity, with presence. When there is coherence between your feeling and your wanting, between your acting and your inner knowing, a subtle alignment occurs. And this alignment creates attraction, not by demand, but by attunement, because the universe recognizes what is whole, what does not waver, what is already vibrating as if it were already there. True magnetism is silent. It does not need to assert itself. It does not need to force connection. It simply exists. It rests within itself with serene confidence, because it knows that what is compatible with its vibration will come, without haste, without noise, without desperation. When you enter this state, everything changes, because life is no longer reacting to your fear, your haste, your pain. It is responding to your coherence. And this response is inevitable. You do not need to exhaust yourself to deserve. You need to align yourself to receive. And this alignment does not happen in excess. It happens in precision, in the internal state of someone who not only desires, but has already become what they desired. And at that point, magnetism is no longer a technique. It is who you are. It is what you vibrate. It is what the world will inevitably mirror back, because you have become a frequency. And the right frequency does not chase. It attracts, always.